There is at least one story of a modern-day giant equivalent. Stephen Quayle, an avid supporter of Nephilim giants, author and radio show host, spoke of an occurrence still classified by the U.S. government on his popular radio show Coast to Coast. The events allegedly happened in 2002 in the desert of Afghanistan. The story states that when a U.S. Army squad went missing, a special ops task force was sent out to find out what happened. The soldiers walked along a ragged, mountainous trail until arriving at the entrance of a large cave. Pieces of broken U.S. military equipment and gear were scattered all around the clearing. The task force was about to enter the cave to explore its recesses when a 13-foot-tall, red-headed, 6-digit, double-toothed humanoid emerged and attacked them.
According to witnesses, the giant pierced one of the soldiers with a pike, killing him before the rest of the squad could take him down, shooting at his face for 30 seconds straight. The body of the giant was packed and loaded into a helicopter and transferred to a secret location in the USA for study. Based on Quayle's story, L.A. Marzulli succeeded in identifying and interviewing one of the members of the task force who actually saw and shot the giant of Kandahar as the event became to be known.
Here is that interview.
So we flew in. It was about 4 clicks or kilometers. We're hiking through the same area where they were supposed to make one of their checkpoints. You know, their rally point? And before we left, there was talk of what happened. Were they ambushed? That was even odd because at the point of ambush, you would call for close air support. Something, okay? There were no calls made, just off the grid. So we're coming down a mountainside, and there was a nice path, a goat path. And as we bent around this corner, you could see the opening of the cave. There's a cave, and we're coming around, and I see there's a lot of rocks, which is another oddity. And bone matter. I'm not close enough to identify what kind of bones, but I did see something I knew to be a piece of communications equipment. So instantly, we're thinking ambush, maybe animal. You know, it could be anything. There was enough room in front of the cave, but it had a sheer drop-off. But there was enough room that we actually got a decent dispersal in case of an ambush. And he comes out. It was a man, at least 12 to 15 feet in height. This is a monster. Red beard, his hair was longish, past his shoulders, and scarlet red. Dan ran at him and started shooting, which broke all of us into reality because it was surreal. While Dan is moving at him, another bro of mine is laying down fire and I start firing. He skewers Dan. He'd now got him on this pike. It went through him. He's still got him and he's coming after more. We all just clicked in. I don't know what it was, but I remember we were all like, shoot him in the face, shoot him in the face. This is sounding longer than it took. We're talking like 30 seconds. And he's taking multiple hits and still moving. Dan was dead, okay? And why was a good man, probably one of the best men I knew, now dead? Before I left, they were already starting what they call a 9-line, which is a medevac request. They're sending out a medevac request, then all of a sudden it's not a medevac request. All of a sudden we had this helicopter show up because, like I told you, there was a large precipice and a sheer drop. So the helicopter just came up from the drop, and they dropped netting, which is like cargo netting. It's like squares. We were told we had to bundle them up, and we get another bigger helicopter. It's almost like what a Jolly Green Giant used to look like back in the day. So we get him on there. This thing was too big. We couldn't move it. It smelled worse than a skunk. The helicopter came in and dropped this hook, and off it went. The communication was sent out that we had a very large, possibly human creature. It had 6 fingers and 6 toes. And the nails were weird because they were thick, like when someone has a fungus, pointy and gnarly. When we got back to base, we were debriefed and told to keep all of this under wraps and to never speak of this to anyone.
George Norrie, host of Coast to Coast AM, was then able to interview a supposed C-130 pilot who flew the giant out of Afghanistan and back to the United States.
There you are in the hills of Afghanistan. How many troop members are you with?
We had 6 on my crew, and when we say hills of Afghanistan, for us, we did not fly into the wilderness. We actually flew into a base. I guess this thing was transloaded out of the mountains by a CH-47. What I could see that it did have the 6 fingers. I remember taking my foot up and placing it up next to its foot, and it was extremely large. We estimated at about 12 feet, give or take. What I can tell you is the weight of the thing. Basically, it was approximately 1,500 pounds when it was getting on the aircraft. Now, if you take away the pallet weight and all the rigging that we had to hold this thing down, we figured it was around 1,100 pounds.
Is this evidence of a modern-day Nephilim giant and a government cover-up of the continued existence of giants? Some would say yes.